Greetings, you are about to access SCP files that are forbidden to the general public. Should you be able to pass the clearance, you should give some thought to who you really are deep down under your normal world persona. Warning: any non-authorized personnel accessing this file will be immediately terminated through Berryman Langford Memetic Kill Agent. Scrolling down without proper memetic inoculation will result in immediate cardiac arrest followed by death. You have been warned. Memetic Kill Agent activated. Continued life signs confirmed. Removing safety interlocks. Welcome, authorized personnel. Please select your desired file. SCP-105, Iris. Item number, SCP-105. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-105 is implanted with a tracking device and is currently housed at Site-17. SCP-105 is currently allowed Class 3, restricted, socialization privileges with approved site personnel, granted based on continued good behavior and cooperation with Foundation personnel. SCP-105's personal camera, designated SCP-105-B, is contained in a locked safe deposit box at Site-19's high-value item storage facility. Standard positive action defenses, explosive, chemical, biological, and memetic, are to be in place at all times while SCP-105-B is within containment. SCP-105 and SCP-105-B or any other camera are only to be allowed to come into contact with approval of the current managing researcher. Description: SCP-105, formerly known as Iris Thompson, is a female human of European descent. Records indicate that SCP-105 was born in, redacted, making her, redacted, years old at the time of acquisition. She has blonde hair and blue eyes, and at the time of this article, is 1.54 meters in height and 50 kilograms in weight. She does not appear to have any out-of-the-ordinary physical characteristics and appears to be, for all intents and purposes, a normal human being in good health. SCP-105-B is a Polaroid one-step express camera, manufactured in 1982. SCP-105-B does not appear to have any out-of-the-ordinary physical characteristics and appears to be, for all intents and purposes, a normal Polaroid camera, operating normally for all persons aside from SCP-105. When SCP-105 holds a photograph taken by SCP-105-B, the photograph changes from a still image to that of a real-time image of the location in question. SCP-105 is also able to reach through the photograph and manipulate objects within reach of the original point at which the photograph was taken. Persons witnessing this manipulation report seeing a disembodied female hand, determined to be that of SCP-105, reaching out from an invisible portal and carrying out the actions indicated. SCP-105-B and the photographs taken by said camera have no unusual properties when used by any other person. SCP-105 has demonstrated limited ability to manipulate objects through other photographs, but can only achieve fine control using photographs taken through SCP-105-B. So far, SCP-105 has only been able to significantly advance her ability by using photographs taken by SCP-105-B. Appendix 1, Circumstances of Acquisition. SCP-105 was brought to the Foundation's attention shortly after the murder of her boyfriend. SCP-105 claimed to have been on the phone with the victim at the time of his murder, prompting her to hurry to his side. However, telephone records did not correspond to her story, making her suspect in the murder. SCP-105 informed her lawyer that she had, in fact, witnessed the murder through a photograph she had taken with her boyfriend several days prior. The attorney in question disregarded the story and recommended that the subject plead guilty. Subject refused to do so and subsequently told her story in court, offering to demonstrate her ability. This led to Foundation contact. Subject was immediately contained by the Foundation. Foundation personnel retrieved SCP-105-B from SCP-105's home, replacing it with an identical model, and returned it to her. SCP-105's parents were informed that she was killed during the botched escape of another patient while both were in custody of the redacted psychiatric care facility. Appendix 2, excerpt from interview log 105-08-4426, dated, redacted. Begin log. Dr. Redacted, please give a brief personal introduction, including date and place of birth, and your name. SCP-105, OK. My name is Iris Thompson. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, on the 12th of May, redacted. Dr. Redacted, good. First question, when did you become aware of your abilities? SCP-105, I'm not sure, but I think I was either 10 or 11. I remember because I was looking at a picture of the ocean, and I noticed that the waves began moving. Dr. Redacted, how did your parents respond when you told them? SCP-105, they just said that I had an overactive imagination. Dr. Redacted, when did you discover that you were able to manipulate objects through a photograph? SCP-105, it first happened when I was 11, 12, maybe. My family took a trip to the Grand Canyon. I looked through the photo album after we got home, and brushed my hand up against one by accident. When I did, I pushed a rock over the edge, falling into the canyon. I could actually hear it clatter on the way down. Dr. Redacted, go on. SCP-105, I became fascinated with photography after that. Most of the time, it didn't work with photographs I took, but my parents got me a Polaroid one-step express camera. I'd been begging for them to get it since Christmas. SCP-105 starts smiling. After I got the camera, the photos got easier to interact with. Dr. Redacted, this is the camera we refer to as 105B. Your personal camera. SCP-105, yes sir. Dr. Redacted, how many photos can you focus on at one time? SCP-105, I've gotten up to 10 at once with my personal camera, but I'm sure I could do more eventually. Dr. Redacted, what is your impression of your time with the Foundation so far? SCP-105 remains silent. Dr. Redacted, please, do answer. We don't take offense at these things. SCP-105, it's sort of like new prison, new warden. But I know it's better than what could have happened to me. Dr. Redacted, you've been very cooperative during your time here. SCP-105, I'm a pretty well-behaved sort of person. I also like doing the experiments. Some of those things with photographs I would never have thought of. Dr. Redacted, do you know why I am asking you these questions, Iris? SCP-105, no, sir. Dr. Redacted, we've been setting up a special program. If it goes through, you'll be occasionally allowed to leave the site and move about in the outside world. All we ask of you in return are a few favors. Are you interested? End log. Addendum 3, History of Service with Mobile Task Force Omega 7. SCP-105 was the second humanoid SCP recruited to Mobile Task Force Omega-7 under the Pandora's Box initiative. Unlike Team Able, associated with SCP-076-2, which was assigned to strike and capture operations, Team Iris had the primary mission of reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. Team Iris carried out over 20 missions in cooperation with the BO Commission. These missions were carried out swiftly and without incident. The first disciplinary incident involving SCP-105 involved the escalation of Team Iris missions from reconnaissance to wet work. SCP-105 violently opposed the use of her abilities to carry out assassinations, even after members of the BO Commission repeatedly attempted to secure her cooperation. See Interview Log 105-21-6543. During these events, SCP-105 became emotionally distressed and attempted to deceive Foundation personnel into believing that her anomalous traits had disappeared. Dr. D, redacted, submitted a report recommending that SCP-105 be reclassified as neutralized, undergo amnestic treatment, and be released to the public with regular monitoring. This recommendation was denied. Following this, Dr. D, redacted, aided SCP-105 in a containment breach aiming to escape Foundation custody. This breach was unsuccessful and SCP-105 was recontained. See Incident X-45 Site 17. Investigation afterwards determined that Dr. D, redacted, had intentionally encouraged SCP-105 to claim loss of anomalous abilities. SCP-105 redemonstrated her anomalous abilities in exchange for restoration of limited privileges. Following the end of the Pandora's Box initiative, all Mobile Task Force Omega-7 teams were disbanded, and SCP-105 was returned to Site 17. Because of the security risk she represents and lack of current utility, SCP-105 is presently not allowed access to SCP-105-B. All further information regarding Mobile Task Force Omega-7 is sealed by order of the Records and Information Security Administration. Director, redacted, Records and Information Security Administration. Addendum 4, Special Notice Re, Current Containment Status. Following Incident R1300 Site 17, many formal and informal reports have been made regarding SCP-105 and a supposed connection to Mobile Task Force Alpha 9. Incident R1300 Site 17, Immediate Actions. There were explosions on site. It wasn't entirely unheard of, but these didn't seem controlled. Also not unheard of, but it still made Iris nervous. The door to her cell opened, and an agent stood there. He was younger, with Mexican features, and she didn't recognize him. 105. Get up. We need to move you. She could tell he was new. Most of the Site 17 personnel were used to calling her real name, outside of official documentation. The shrinks thought it would be helpful in keeping her emotionally stable. You had to laugh. Should I take anything? She asked as she got up from her seat. No time. We'll send someone for it later. He motioned for her to hurry. She walked to the door. She was long past the time where she resisted or tried to escape. Where would she go? She'd probably just end up somewhere worse. He led her into the hallway and didn't bother to rescue the door. She realized then that things were extremely wrong, rather than the baseline of very wrong she'd grown accustomed to. He hesitated a moment, then said this way. She almost offered to guide him, but he probably wasn't prepared for a skip to show that kind of initiative. There were gunshots nearby. Stay behind me. The agent pulled out his sidearm. There were dead bodies in the next hallway. 2 were site security. A third wore an unfamiliar black uniform. As the agent walked through the next door, there was a gunshot, and the back of his head blossomed outward. Iris crouched in the frame of another door, pressed as hard as she could into the shallow alcove. She listened as someone walked up to the door. She held her breath and waited to see if they'd walk in or lean in far enough to see her. After a moment, she heard them turn and walk away. She stood still a moment longer and then quietly reached down and picked up the dead agent's sidearm. This broke any number of rules, but Rule 1 was to avoid dying in a senseless fight, and you had to prioritize in these situations. She took a different hallway. Hopefully, she'd run into someone who could help her. Hopefully, they wouldn't shoot her. That would be nice. There were containment rooms, but she avoided those. You never knew what was in there, and anyway, that was probably what the guys in black suits were after. Unless they were really interested in Dr. Jones's paperclip collection. In the next hallway, the containment chamber had been opened, and the door torn off its hinges. There were several black-clad bodies on the floor. Standing above them, tearing the flesh off a humerus, was an ogre. 8 feet tall, with bulbous nose, pointed head, and sharpened teeth, he smiled wickedly from around his meal. "Ah, Marchere, you join the party." She tightened her grip on the sidearm and forced herself to remain calm. "Fernand, will you take a quick picnic with me?" he asked. "I am having my morning exercise." "No thank you," she said. She began to walk past him. Not fast. Not running. Predators chase things that run. As you like. Perhaps we meet again later, eh? A little rendezvous, 'tis romantic. He chortled around his clenched teeth. Iris suppressed a small shudder. Still, bad as Fernand was, he couldn't hold a candle to him. As she entered the next doorway, she saw the shape of a cow, but completely, utterly black. The area around it appeared slightly distorted, as though it were doing something with the light. It started moving towards Iris, who immediately turned tail. She'd take her chances with the men in black. At least she knew what the bullets did. She heard it picking up speed, and she turned a corner, slipped through a door and closed it. As she leaned against the door and caught her breath, she heard the staccato call of gunfire. She dropped to the floor, counted to 3, cursed the cow thing silently and then looked up. There were 5 of the black-clad men firing down the hallway, perhaps 10 feet away, using an overturned desk as makeshift cover. She couldn't tell what they were shooting at from her position, but the bullets flying overhead suggested site security wasn't quite out of the fight yet. However, there wasn't too much gunfire coming from that direction, compared to the amount of lead the black suits were throwing down the hall. It seemed like the Foundation was outnumbered, at least in this hallway. She considered her options. She could wait and hope the Foundation would send reinforcements. But that seemed chancy. Whoever this was, they were organized, and probably had a good evacuation strategy planned. Once they realized she was there, she could try playing dead, but even a dead skip could be a useful skip, and they'd figure out she was pretending pretty quickly. She considered it unlikely whoever it was would treat her as well as the Foundation. Only one option, then. She took a knee, carefully took aim, and shot the closest man in the back of the head. Then the next one. And the one after him. It was easy. That was what she hated about it. How easy it was. There was a click, and the gun refused to fire. Without even thinking, she went back to her immediate actions. She slammed the magazine with the heel of her left hand, then slid the rack back, and a jammed bullet flew out. The other two were starting to realize there was a problem, so she shot the fourth. The fifth almost had her, but then gunfire from further back took him down. It was only as he fell to the ground she started to feel again, and the gorge rose in her throat. "It's me," she called. "SCP-105. They're dead." She dropped the gun, kicked it forward, and then knelt down with her hands on the back of her head until the agents got her and took her to safety. "You need to see this, m." The man was nervous, but he was always nervous. Like a small dog, really. "What is it?" she asked. She was still a bit tired. It had been a long night the night before. It usually was. But the last time he'd told her she needed to do something, there was an active attempt on her life. She was good at picking up things like that. Footage from the latest containment breach. "I think you should pay special attention here." He jumped to a point on the tapes to show a young woman. "Yes," she said. "Then, yes. I see." She thought for a moment. "Yes, good work, Henry. You were right. I did need to see this." She opened a very special program on her phone. "We'll all need to see this, I think."